Alright, so now let's continue with socio-cultural child development and learning. Alright, so the development of children in a social cultural context and its relationship to learning is a complex and multifaceted topic, drawing from the field of psychology, sociology, and education. This approach to understanding child development is heavily influenced by the work of Russian psychologist Leo Vygotsky and his social cultural theory. Here, I'll provide an overview of the key concepts and ideas related to this topic. Alright, so here, what happens is that, see, Leo Vygotsky is very important person in child development and pedagogy. Alright, he is known as social constructivist. Alright, he is known as social constructivist. So remember that term. So here, development of children in a socio-cultural context and its relationship to learning is complex. It's a complex process and it has multi-phase. Alright, multi-phase process, and referring to different fields of psychology, sociology, and education. Now, this approach helps to understand child development, that it is heavily influenced by the work of Russian psychologist Leo Vygotsky, alright, and his social cultural theory. So who has given social cultural theory? It's an important question. So it is given by Leo Vygotsky, alright. So remember that. Now, social cultural theory and Vygotsky. Now we are going to study the social cultural theory of Vygotsky. So ZPD is very important term, zone of proximal development. So many a time in question you see that what do you mean by ZPD, or zone of proximal distal development, zone of proximal development, or who has given zone of proximal development? So Vygotsky introduced the concept of ZPD, which is the difference between what a child can do on their own and what they can do with guidance or support from a more knowledgeable other. This zone is where significant learning occurs. Now, see, the zone of proximal development is introduced by Vygotsky, alright, which is the difference between what a child can do alone. Suppose if you ask a child to draw a picture, then the child can draw on its own, right? The child can draw on its own, but if you yourself is helping the child to draw that picture, then he can do a better one, right? So the difference between what child can do alone and what child can do with your help is known as zone of proximal development. Alright, so this is where significant learning occurs. Now, scaffolding. What is scaffolding? Scaffolding is a very important word, my dear friends. Remember this. Alright, this scaffolding word is very important. Now, alright, before this, see here, one word is mentioned, more knowledgeable other, right? More knowledgeable person. So it is sometimes referred to as more knowledgeable other, MKO. Alright, remember that also, that more knowledgeable other was also discussed by Leo Vygotsky. Here, more knowledgeable other person can be anybody. It can be you, it can be child's father, mother, teacher, elder, younger, anybody, alright, who can help or assist the child in that particular task. Now, what is scaffolding? So scaffolding involves providing support and guidance to a child within their zone of proximal development to help them reach a higher level of understanding or skill. It could be through the help of parents, teachers, or peers. So scaffolding means temporary help. Alright, suppose a child is learning to ride a bicycle. So in the beginning, of course, you are going to hold from behind, right? The cycle you are going to hold and help the child to balance the cycle, and later on, as he is learning, you will try to release your hand or take away your hand from the cycle slowly, right? And then you will see that the child can ride the cycle. So this is scaffolding, means temporary help, which is given by the teacher or peers or friends or parents, anybody, right? Now, social interaction. By the word itself, So Vygotsky emphasized the importance of social interaction in a child's development. Children learn through interaction with others, and these interactions shape their cognitive development. For example, a child learns language through interaction with caregivers and peers. Of course, social interaction is very important, which means everybody should interact in the society. As we know, man is a social animal, so we learn from the society, right, in which we live. So children, they learn languages from the caregivers, from the parents, from the teachers, whoever they are interacting with. Alright, cultural tools and artifacts. So cultural tools and artifacts. Cultural tools such as language, symbols, and technology play a crucial role in child's development. Children adopt the cultural tools of their society and use them to think, solve problems, and learn. Now you see, what do you understand by cultural tools and artifacts? Cultural tools are the languages which the child use, the symbols, all right, the symbols which the child can use, and the technology, all right. So all these cultural tools play an important role in developing the child. So children adapt the cultural tools of their society and use them to think, to solve the problem, and to experience new things in life. Now, learning and play. Play is seen as a significant mechanism for learning in the socio-cultural context. Through play, children explore and understand the world, develop their imagination, and practice social skills. So, as we have seen before also in this previous video, the children, they learn and they become more creative through through playing and learning at the same time, as they like pre-planned playing, or they like imitating and playing, right? So we have seen that in our previous video as well. Community of learners. So learning is often a communal activity. Children learn by participating in a community of learners, which includes parents, teachers, peers, and other members of the society. So community of learners. So of course, learning is not a process where you will learn everything all alone. It is something which we can learn by participating in the community, all right, and it becomes more fun and interesting when teachers, parents, peers, friends are involved in it, right? The cultural variation. The socio-cultural approach acknowledges that learning and development can vary across different cultures. Different societies have unique ways of transmitting knowledge and values to their children. Yes, of course, culture plays a very important role, right? So different cultures, in different cultures, the children learn differently. In some culture, the learning might be advanced. In some culture, the learning might be lagging behind. And in some cultures, the learning might take place through playful activities. In some, it might take place through formal education. In some, it might take place through informal education, right? So it is that way. Now, implications for education. So how, socio-cultural context will help in the implication for education. Implications for education. In educational settings, the socio-cultural perspective emphasizes the importance of collaborative learning, peer interaction, and the role of teachers as a facilitator and guide. So here the most important one is teacher as a facilitator and guide. This term is very important. When you check your question paper, you will see that this question has been asked many times. Almost in all the years, it was asked like teacher should act as a facilitator, or teacher should act as a guide, or teacher should act as a facilitator and a guide. So teacher should always act like a facilitator according to Leo Vygotsky, right? So whenever you talk about Leo Vygotsky, teacher is just a facilitator, all right? He will just help the children to construct their own knowledge. In a cultural context and learning styles. The cultural context can influence a child's preferred learning styles and strategies. For example, some cultures prioritize memorization, repetition, while others may emphasize problem solving and critical thinking. See, culture. The culture in which the child is born or is living also plays a very crucial role in the development of the child. So some cultures might prefer memorization and repetition in order to learn something, while the other cultures may believe in practical aspect and problem solving and critical thinking mode. All right. Now, cultural norms and socialization. Socialization process in different cultures shape a child's belief, values, and behaviors, which in turn influence how they learn and interact with the world. Now, see, society is very important, and through socialization, the child, they shape their beliefs. They know what is wrong, what is right, their values, what is good and what is bad, and their behaviors, like how should he or she behave in a society, how is he expected to behave in front of elders, in front of friends, in front of teachers, in front of parents, right, in front of other genders. So this way the child learns. In summary, we can say that the development of children in a socio-cultural context is deeply intertwined with the cultural, social, and historical factors that shape their environment. So we can also say that the development of the children depends on the culture, the society, and the historical factors that has shaped the environment in which the child is living. Learning is a social activity that occurs within this context with guidance and support from more knowledgeable individuals. So this is very important. Whenever we talk about Leo Vygotsky, always remember MKO, that is more knowledgeable other. Understanding and applying the principles of socio-cultural theory can have significant implications for education and child development practices, emphasizing the importance of social interaction, cultural tools, and collaborative learning. All right. Now, understanding and applying the principles of sociocultural theory can have important implications for education and child development. So, applying all these theories and logics can help an individual or a child to learn and live in a better way. Example can be, or 10 examples are given here, right? Here are 10 examples that illustrate the development of children in a socio-cultural context and its relationship to learning. What is that? Language acquisition. So, a child learns their native language by interacting with family members and peers who provide linguistic input and engage in conversation. So, of course, we never teach a child the native language, right? If a child is Garo, we will not teach him Garo. If a child is Khasi, we will not teach him Khasi. If a child is Hindi speaking, we will not teach him Hindi. So they will learn by himself or herself by listening only, right? Cultural norms. Of course, if you want to correct them, you can always do the correction, but we don't particularly have to teach it in a formal way. They will learn it on their own. Now, cultural norms. Children learn cultural norms and values through observation and participation in social cultural practices such as rituals and traditions. Of course, we all have our own culture. Garo people have their own culture. Khasi people, they have their own culture, right? So, according to the culture, whatever the child observe, that only the child will learn. So the cultures, the traditions, whatever is being followed in the family, since the childhood of that particular individual, he or she is going to follow that only, right? Now, school collaboration, group projects in school where students work together to solve problems and learn from each other's ideas and perspective. So, school collaboration or collaborative learning is also very important, which help the children to collect their own ideas together and develop it into something very useful and productive, right? Storytelling. So children learn about their culture's history, myth, and moral values through storytelling and narrative shared by elders. So of course, storytelling is an art, and storytelling, of course, everybody of us, we love to listen to stories, right? We love to listen to English stories, Garo stories, Khasi stories. Then we also like to read the novels, then small storybooks. Then we also like to watch short stories in YouTube and TVs, right? So by that, what happens is that we learn about our cultures, about our histories, about myth, about the truth, about the reality, about the moral values. Learning a trade or craft through apprenticeship, where children work alongside experienced practitioners and learn by doing. See, apprenticeship can be compared with SUPW. So in our school, we do socially useful productive work, right? SUPW is also taken as a subject, right? So where the children, they learn to make different things, arts and crafts, with the help of more knowledgeable other. Mathematical concept. Teachers use concrete examples and manipulative to help students grasp mathematical concepts such as addition and subtraction. So mathematics should, these days what happens is that we should always try to connect the classroom situation with the outside world, which means mathematics learning should not be only in the classroom, it should be outside even. The student should learn about mathematics at home, in market. So wherever, of course, short formula is that wherever money is involved, the child will learn addition, subtraction, division, right? So we should not only confine the mathematics learning inside the classroom, we can take it to the outside world, or we should make it practical one. All right. Now, reading skills. Parents or caregivers read books to children, which not only teaches literacy but also fosters a love for reading. Now, of course, parents and teachers, they read stories to the children, right? So they listen to the story and then they sleep. Now, what happens by this is that they are not only listening to the story, but it is helping them to love reading and listening, and it improves their listening skills as well. Now, cultural art and music. Learning traditional dances, songs, or artistic forms through participation in cultural activities and performances. Of course, we know Meghalaya is the rock capital of India, right? Meghalaya is the rock capital of India. We know that Ed Sheeran is coming. Then recently, Ronan Keating has come. Then Bryan Adams has come, right? And now the next one is Ed Sheeran, right? So our city Shillong is known as the rock capital of India. So that's why we should preserve our own cultures, right? We have our own dance. Wangala dance is there, Nongkrem dance is there, right? So that is our tradition. Bedin Klam is also there. So these are all our traditions, how we follow, right? Our all folk songs we have, so our own arts and crafts we have, right? So these are helping the learners in their development. Problem solving. Students work together to solve real world problems, applying their knowledge and skills in practical context. Now, problem solving. Sometimes some problems are like it is not possible to be solved by a single individual. So if we ask our friends or peers, then they also help and contribute in solving that particular problem. Now, technology use. Children learn to use technology and digital tools through interaction with peers, online communities, and guidance from others. Now, you see, suppose you buy a mobile phone for your son or daughter, you don't have to teach her how to use it. They already know it, right? Because they have learned it online or from their friends or from their peers. These examples demonstrate how children's development is deeply influenced by their socio-cultural environment, including interaction with family, peers, teachers, and exposure to cultural practices and artifacts. So we have learned that the development of the child is not solely alone, it is with the environment and all the activities taking place in the environment along with the people in it. That is the family, the friends, the relatives, the peers, the teachers, and exposure to cultural practices and artifacts. So, learning occurs in a dynamic and social context with a significant impact on child's cognitive and social development. Alright, so that's why learning occurs in dynamic or changing environment and social context with an important impact on child's cognitive and social development. So we have studied all the domains of development and we know how which domain affects the child in which way. We already know that, right? So in the next video we will be learning about factors influencing development. So thank you everyone for listening.